Zelophehad's daughters, the daughters of Zelophehad, son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, belonged to the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. The names of the daughters were Mahlah, Noah, Hagla, and Milcah, and Tirzah. They came forward and stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the leaders, and the whole assembly at the entrance to the tent of meeting, and said, "Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among Korah's followers who banded together against the Lord, but he died for his own sin and left no sons. Why should our father's name disappear from his clan because he had no sons? Give us property among our father's relatives." So Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord said to him, "What Zelophehad's daughters are saying is right. You must certainly give them property as inheritance to their father's relatives, and give their father's inheritance to them. Said to the Israelite, if a man dies and leaves no son, give his inheritance to his daughter. If he has no daughter, give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brother, give his inheritance to his brothers, to his father's brothers. If his father had no brothers, give him inheritance to the nearest relative in his clan, that he may possess it. This is to have the force of the law for the Israelites, as the Lord commanded Moses." Joshua to succeed Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go up to this mountain and the Abraham range, and see the land I have given the Israelites. After you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people, as your brother Aaron was, for the community rebelled at the waters in the desert of Zin. Both of you disobeyed my command to honor me as holy before their eyes. These were the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the desert of Zin." Moses said to the Lord, May the Lord, the God who gives birth to all the living things, appoint someone over this community to go out and come in before them, the one who would lead them out and bring them in. So the Lord's people will not be like sheep without a shepherd. So the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua son of Nun, a man whom is the spirit of leadership, and lay your hand on him, and have them before Eleazar the priest and the entire assembly, and commission him in their presence. Give him some of your authority, so the whole Israelite community will obey him. He is to stand before Eleazar the priest, who will obtain decisions for him by inquiring of the Urim before the Lord. At his command, he and the entire community of the Israelites will go out, and at his command they will come in." Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and had him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole assembly. Then he laid his hands on him and commissioned him as the Lord instructed through Moses. Daily offerings. The Lord said to Moses, "Give this command to the Israelites and say to them, make sure that you present to me at the appointed time my food offerings as an aroma pleasing to me. Say to them, this is the food offering you are to present to the Lord: 2 lambs a year old without defect, as a regular burnt offering each day. Offer one lamb in the morning and the other at twilight, together with the grain offering of a tenth of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with a quarter of hin of oil from pressed olives. This is the regular burnt offering instituted at Mount Sinai as the pleasing aroma, a food offering presented to the Lord. The accompanied drink offering is to be a quarter of hin of fermented drink with each lamb. Pour the drink offering to the Lord at the sanctuary. Offer the second lamb at twilight, along with the same kind of grain offering and drink offering you offer in the morning. This is food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Sabbath offerings. On the seventh day, make an offering of 2 lambs a year old without defect, together with its drink offering, a grain offering, 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with olive oil. This is the burnt offering for every Sabbath, in addition to the regular burnt offerings and its drink offering. Monthly offerings. On the first of every month, present to the Lord a burnt offering of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With each bull, there's to be grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil. With the ram, a grain offering of 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil. And with each lamb, a grain offering of a tenth of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil. This is for a burnt offering, an a pleasing aroma, a food offering presented to the Lord. With each bull, there is to be a drink offering, half of hin of wine. With the ram, a third of a hin; with each lamb, a quarter of a hin. This is the monthly burnt offering to be made at each new moon during the year. Beside the regular burnt offering with its drink offering, one male goat is to be presented to the Lord as a sin offering. The Passover. On the 14th day of the first month, the Lord's Passover is to be held. On the 14th day of this month, there is to be a festival for 7 days. Eat bread made without yeast. On the first day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. Present it to the Lord as a food offering, consisting of, of a burnt offering of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With each bull, offer a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil. With the ram, 2/10, and with each of the 7 lambs, 1/10. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. Offer these in addition to regular morning burnt offerings. In this way, present the food offering every day for 7 days as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. It is to be offered in addition to the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. On the seventh day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. The Festival of Weeks. On the day of the first fruits, when you present to the Lord an offering of new grain during the Festival of Weeks, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. Present a burnt offering of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs a year old, and as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. With each bull there is to be a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil, with the ram 2/10, and with each of the seventh lambs 1/10. Include 1 male goat to make atonement for you. Offer these together with their drink offerings, in addition to the regular burnt offerings with its grain offering. Be sure the animals are without defect. The Festival of Trumpets. On the first day of the 7th month, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. It is a day for you to sound the trumpets as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Offer a burnt offering of 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bull, offer a grain offering, 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with olive oil, with the ram 2/10, and with each of the 7 lambs 1/10. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. These are in addition to the monthly and daily burnt offerings with the grain offerings and drink offerings as specified. They are food offerings presented to the Lord, a pleasing aroma. The Day of Atonement. On the 10th day of the 7th month, hold a sacred assembly. You must deny yourselves and do no work. Present as an aroma pleasing to the Lord a burnt offering of 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bull, offer a grain offering, 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil, with ram 2/10, and with each of the 7 lambs 1/10. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the sin offering for atonement and the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and their drink offerings. The Festival of Tabernacles. On the 15th day of the 7th month, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. Celebrate a festival to the Lord for 7 days. Present as an aroma pleasing to the Lord a food offering consisting of a burnt offering of 13 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With each of the 13 bulls, offer a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with oil. With each of the 2 rams, 2/10, and with each of the 14 lambs 1/10. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and drink offering. On the second day, offer 12 young bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls and rams, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain offerings and their drink offerings. On the third day, offer 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls and rams and lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and drink offering. On the 14th day, offer 2 rams and 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls, rams, and lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings, and according to the number specified. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offerings with its grain offering and drink offering. On the fifth day, offer 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls, rams, and lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offerings with its grain offerings and drink offering. On the sixth day, offer 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls, rams, and lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain offering and drink offering. On the seventh day, offer 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bulls, rams, and lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offerings with its grain offering and drink offering. On the eighth day, hold a closing special Hold a closing special assembly and do no regular work. Present as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, a food offering consisting of a burnt offering of one bull, one ram, 7 male lambs a year old, all without defect. With the bull ram and the lambs, offer their grain offerings and drink offerings according to the number specified. Include one male goat as a sin offering, in addition to the regular burnt offerings with its grain offering and drink offering. In addition to what you vow, your freewill offerings, offer these to the Lord at your appointed festivals, your burnt offerings, grain offerings, drink offerings, and fellowship offerings. Moses told the Israelites all that the Lord had commanded him. Vows. Moses said to the heads of the tribes of Israel, "This is what the Lord commands. When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes the oath to obligate himself by pledge, he must not break his word but must do everything he said. When a young woman is still living in her father's household and makes a vow to the Lord or obligates herself by pledge, and her father hears her vow or pledge but says nothing to her, then all her vows and every pledge by which she obligated herself will stand. But if the father forbids her when he hears about it, and none of her vows or the pledges by which she obligated herself will stand, the Lord will release her because her father has forbidden her. If she marries after she makes a vow or her lips utter a rash promise by which she obligates herself, and her husband hears about it but says nothing to her, then her vows or the pledges by which she obligated herself will stand. But if her husband forbids her when he hears about it, and he nullifies the vow and obligates her on a rash promise by which she obligates herself, and the Lord will release her. Any vow or obligation taken by a widow or a divorced woman will be binding on her. If a woman living with her husband makes a vow or obligates herself by a pledge under oath, and her husband hears about it but says nothing to her and does not forbid her, then all her vows or the pledges by which she obligated herself will stand. But if her husband nullifies them hears when he hears about them, none of the vows or pledges that came from her lips will stand. Her husband has nullified them, and the Lord will release her. Her husband will confirm or nullify any vow she makes or any swore pledge to deny herself. But if her husband says nothing to her about it from day to day, then he confirms all her vows and pledges binding on her. He confirms them by saying nothing to her when he hears about them. If, however, he nullifies them, then some time after he hears about them, he must bear the consequences of her wrongdoing. These are the regulations that the Lord gave Moses concerning relationships between a man and his wife, between a father and his younger daughter still living at home. Vengeance on the Midianites. The Lord said to Moses, "Take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites. After that, you will be gathered to your people." So Moses said to the people, "Arm some of your men to go to war against the Midianites, so they may carry out the Lord's vengeance on them. Send into battle 1,000 men from each of the tribes of Israel." So 12,000 men armed for battle. 1,000 from each tribe were supplied from the clans of Israel. Moses sent them into battle, 1,000 from each tribe, along with Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, who took with him articles from the sanctuary and the trumpets for signaling. They fought against Midian as the Lord commanded Moses and killed every man. Among their victims were Evi, Rakem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam, son of Beor, with the sword. The Israelites captured the Midianite woman and children and took all the Midianite herds, flocks, and goods as plunder. They burned all the towns where the Midianites had settled, as well as all their camps. They took all their plunder and spoils, including the people and animals, and brought the captive spoils and plunder to Moses and Eleazar the priest and the Israelite assembly at their camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from the Jericho. Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the leaders of the community went to meet them outside the camp. Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands, the commanders of hundreds, who returned from battle. "Have you allowed the women to live?" he asked them. "They are the ones who followed Balaam's advice and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord in the Peor incident, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Now kill all the boys and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourselves every girl who has never slept with a man. Anyone who has killed someone or touched someone who was killed must stay outside the camp 7 days. On the third and seventh day, you must purify yourselves and your captives. Purify every garment as well as everything made of leather, goat hair, or wood." Then Eleazar the priest said to the soldiers who had gone into the battle, "This is what is required by the law that the Lord gave Moses: gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, and lead. Anything else can withstand fire must be put through the fire, then it will be clean, but it must also be purified with the water of cleansing. And whatever cannot withstand fire must be put through water. And on the 7th day wash your clothes, and you will be clean. Then you may come into the camp." dividing the spoils. The Lord said to Moses, "You and Eleazar the priest and the family, the heads of the community, are to count all the people and animals that were captured. Divide the spoils equally between the soldiers who took part in the battle and the rest of the community. From the soldiers who fought in the battle, set apart as a tribute for the Lord, one out of every 500, whether people, cattle, donkeys, or sheep. Take this as tribute from their half share and give it to Eleazar, the priest, as the Lord's part. From the from the Israelites have select one out of every 50, whether people, cattle, donkeys, sheep, or other animals. Give them to the Levites who are responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle." So Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. The plunder remaining from the spoils that the soldiers took were 675,000 sheep, 72 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 women who had never slept with the men. The half share of those who fought in the battle was 337,500 sheep, of which the tribute for the Lord was 675, 36,000 cattle, of which the tribute for the Lord was 72, 30,500 donkeys, of which the tribute for the Lord was 61, 16,000 people, of whom the tribute for the Lord was 32. Moses gave the tribute to Eleazar the priest as the Lord's part, as the Lord commanded Moses. The half belonging to the Israelites, which Moses set apart from that of the fighting men. The community's half was 37,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people. From the Israelites' half, Moses selected one out of every 50 people and animals as the Lord commanded him, and gave them to the Levites, who were responsible for the care of the Lord's tabernacle. Then the officers who were over the units of the army, the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, went to Moses and said to him, "Your servants have counted the soldiers under our command, and not one is missing. So we have brought as an offering to the Lord the gold article each of us acquired, the armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before the Lord." Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted from them the gold, all the crafted articles, all the gold from the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds that Moses and Eleazar presented as a gift to the Lord, weighed 16,750 shekels. Each soldier had taken plunder for himself. Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted the gold from the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for the Israelites before the Lord. The Transjordan tribes. The Reubenites and Gadites, who had very large herds and flocks, saw that the lands of Jazer and Gilead were suitable for livestock, so they became Moabites, and the leaders of the priests and the leaders of the community, and said, Atheron, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Elealeh, Sabim, Nebo, and Beon, the land the Lord subdued before the people of Israel, are suitable for the livestock, and your servants have livestock. If we have found favor in your eyes, they said, let this land be given to your servants as our possession. Do not make us cross the Jordan. Moses said to the Gadites and the Reubenites, should your fellow Israelites go to war while you sit here? Why do you discourage the Israelites from crossing over into the land the Lord has given them? This is what your fathers did when I sent them from Kadesh to Barnea to look over the land. After they went up into the valley of Eshcol and viewed the land, they discouraged the Israelites from entering the land the Lord had given them. The Lord's anger was aroused that day, and he swore this oath, because they have not followed me wholeheartedly. Not one of those who were 20 years old or more when they came up out of Egypt will see the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not one except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, for they followed the Lord wholeheartedly. The Lord's anger burned against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years, until the whole generation of those who had done evil in his eyes was gone. And here you are, a brood of sinners, standing in the place of your fathers, making the Lord even more angry with Israel. If you turn away from following him, he will again leave all his people in the wilderness, and you will be the cause of their destruction. Then they came up to him and said, we would like to build this pens here for our livestock and cities for our women and children, but we will arm ourselves for battle and go ahead of the Israelites until we have brought them to their place. Meanwhile, our women and children will live in fortified cities for protection from the inhabitants of our land. We will not return to our homes until each Israelite has received their inheritance. We will not receive any inheritance with them on the other side of the Jordan, because of the inheritances come to us on the east of the Jordan. Then Moses said to them, if you will do this, you will arm yourselves before the Lord for battle. And if all of you who are armed cross over the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven enemies out before him. Then, then when the land is subdued before the Lord, you may return and be free from your obligation to the Lord and to Israel, and this land will be your possession before the Lord. But if you fail to do this, you will be sinning against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will find you out. Build cities for your women and children, pens for your flocks, but do what you have promised. The Gadites and Reubenites said to Moses, "We, your servants, will do as our Lord commands. Our children and wives, our flocks and herds, will remain here in the cities of Gilead. But your servants, every man who is armed for battle, will cross over to fight before the Lord, just as our Lord says." Then Moses gave orders about them to Eleazar the priest, and Joshua son of Nun, and to the family heads of the Israelite tribes. He said to them, "If the Gadites and Reubenites, every man armed for battle, cross over the Jordan with you before the Lord, then the land is subdued before you. You must give them the land of Gilead as their possession. But if they do not cross over with you armed, they must accept their possession with you in Canaan." The Gadites and the Reubenites answered, "Your servants will do what the Lord has said. We will cross over before the Lord into Canaan armed. But the property we inherit will be on this side of the Jordan." Then Moses gave to the Gadonites, Reubenites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, the king of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the whole land with cities and the territory around them. The Gadonites built up Dibon, Athroth, Auror, Athroth, and Chopin, Jazer, and Jogbehah, Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran as fortified cities, and built up pens for their flocks. And the Reubenites rebuilt Heshbon, Eli, and Kiritham, as well as Nebon, Baal, Meon. These names were changed. In Sibah, they gave names to the cities they rebuilt. The descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, went up to Gilead, captured it, and drove out the Amorites who were there. So Moses gave Gilead to the Macharites, the descendants of Manasseh, and they settled there. Jair, a descendant of Manasseh, captured their settlements and called them Havoth Jair, and Nobi captured the Kenath and its surrounding settlements and called it Nobi after himself. Stages in Israel's journey. Here are the stages in the journey of the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt by divisions under the leadership of Moses and Aaron. The Lord commanded Moses to record the stages in their journey. This is their journey by stages. The Israelites set out from Ramses on the 15th day of the first month after the Passover. They marched out defiantly in full view of the Egyptians who were burying all their firstborn, whom the Lord had struck down among them, for the Lord had brought judgment on their gods. The Israelites left Ramses and camped at Succoth. They left Succoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the desert. They left Etham and turned back to Pi Harioth to the east of Baal Zepon and camped near Migdal. They left Pi Harioth and passed through the sea into the desert. And when they had traveled for 3 days in the desert of Etham, they camped at Marah. They left Marah and went to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees. They camped there and left Elim and camped by the Red Sea. They left the Red Sea and camped by the desert of Sin. They left the desert of Sin and camped at Dopka. They left at Dopka and camped at Alush. They left at Alush and camped at Rephidim, where there was no water for the people to drink. They left Rephidim and camped at the desert of Sinai. They left the they left the desert of Sinai and camped at Kiboth Hatava. They left Kibroth Hatava and camped at Hazeroth. They left Hazeroth and camped at Ramoth. They left Ramoth and camped at Ramon Perez. They left Ramon Perez and camped at Libnah. They left Libnah and camped at Rissah. They left Rissah and camped at Kehillah, Kehillatha. They left Kehillatha and camped at Mount Sheper. They left Mount Sheper and camped at Harada. They left Harada and camped at Makaloth. They left Makaloth and camped at Tahath. They left Tahath and camped at Tira. They left Tira and camped at Mithkah. They left Mithkah and camped at Hashmona. They left Hashmona and camped at Moseroth. They left Moseroth and camped at Ben Jacan. They left Ben Jacan and camped at Hor Hag Hag Haggid Haggigad. They left Hor Haggigad and camped at Jabahath. They left Jabahath and camped at Abrona. They left Abrona and camped at Ezion Geber. They left Ezon Geber encamped at Kadesh in the desert of Zin. They left Kadesh and camped at Mount Hor on the border of Edom at the Lord's command. Aaron the priest went up Mount Hor, where he died on the first day of the 5th month of the 40th year after the Israelites came out of Egypt. Aaron was buried in 20 and Aaron was 123 years old when he died on Mount Hor. The Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in the Negev of Canaan, heard that the Israelites were coming. They left Mount Hor and camped at Zalmonah. They left Zalmonah and camped at Panan. They left Panan and camped at Abath. They left Abath and camped at Lai Abiram on the border of Moab. They left Abram and camped at Dibon Gad. They left at Dibon Gad and camped at Almon Diblathaim. They left Almon Diblathaim and camped in the mountains of Abiram near Nebo. They left the mountains of Abiram and camped on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. There on the plains of Moab, they camped along the Jordan from Beth Jeshimoth to Abel Shittim. On the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho, the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you cross into the Jordan into Canaan, drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you, destroy all their carved images, cast their idols, and demolish all their high places. Take possession of the land and settle in it. For I have given you the land to possess. Distribute the land by lot according to your clans. To a larger group, give a larger inheritance. To a smaller group, a smaller one. Whatever falls to them by lot will be theirs. Distribute it according to your ancestral tribes. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land, those you allow to remain become barbs in your eyes and thorns in your sides. They will give you trouble in the land where you live. And then I will do to you what I plan to do to them."